recording.
Did you
And
enjoy
we're
the
back
experience?
on.
Okay.
Oh, it is following you. So hold on to this or put it around your wrist or something and it'll follow you around until it stops working. I think we have, Heather, if you can text Jessica and just see whatever. And I'm down too right now. It's not live right now.
Okay, so I read two books that kind of go together, and the whole underlying theme is improvisation. So, um, uh, free play is what was presented last week, and I kind of already blogged on that, so I won't go into too much detail. And the other book was The Fierce Urgency of Now, and it had three authors, Daniel Fishlin, A.J. Hebel, and George Lipsitz. What's that?
His name's Ajay.
Ajay. And they are kind of housed, I guess, in Guelph, and they have an organization, improvisation, community, and social practice. And the whole book suggests that there is a link between musical improvisation and human rights. They focus on the culture and of African Americans, and they say that this aggrieved population used improvisation ultimately to kind of shape human rights and kind of give human rights a voice in their context. So it was interesting because it started from pretty much the beginning um, of African American culture, and kind of they were saying that these groups and culture, or sorry, groups of people would get together, and through improvisation kind of came the style that we label reach people, right?
What do you think? What do you think? Because
Yeah,
we've been trying
I
for so
agree,
long.
but I think we have to, like, we can't be saying, okay, we're gonna create just jazz. Like, it's really finding your own authentic sound organically, right? Like, we study classical music, but what do you do with that is what everyone's struggle was saying. But you have to take that skill and say, well, let's find something common between each of us, and how can we contribute musically and speak to that level? I don't know if that's making sense, but
Is our collective does it matter what we do with our individual voice if our collective improvised voice is authentic?
say that.
In other words, the music we make together in the moment probably is authentic because it's what we share, right? Because you can't fake it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't make it up. We can't pre-compose it. Even if we don't understand what our own authentic voice is. Because for some of us, and this goes with, you get this a lot with so I work at York in the World Music Program, and so my director says, can you answer me a kind of weird question? He's been thinking about it for years. I'm like, yeah, sure, Matt. And he says, okay, we have Afro-Cuban ensemble, and we have African drumming ensemble, and we have everybody's Chinese. Why is that? Why is everybody Chinese in the ensembles? And it's true. So it's always second generation Chinese students who want to do music, and they'll want to do any kind of music they can get their hands on. Classical music, Afro-Cuban jazz, anything they get their hands on. So there's this, but you get the sense when they're making it that it's really authentic, but it just looks bizarro weird. So the music they make together, this need to have music and be together, is really authentic. But if you ask them, what's your authentic music, they probably couldn't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't know what to do.
But I think, I mean, part of this is that, and it has direct relationship to what you're saying. Part of it is the creation of a safe space in which people can step in and be a strong part of the group, so that everybody has, so that shy person who never participates, when that shy person steps in and then adds her or his voice, then that's because we've all made space for them. And that's part of the strength of the group that goes out and sings the song. So, you know, because there's always a shy person. There's always somebody who doesn't want to, that's sort of half in. And then if the group becomes a community, then they will make it safe. And that strengthens the voice.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Does that make sense, though? Shaping the space, no? And then you quote this, improvisation shows there are other ways of doing things, that social change is possible, page 243. So in improvisation, rather than in repeating songs, we create solutions on the spot. Is that what he's saying? That the solutions we create are musically are reflective of social.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because it's the same
kind of buy that.
skills that you have to
Negotiate.
use, right? Like, I like that. Akmanovich really says that we're the best improvisers ever. We outside of the music context, right? Like what I'm doing. Caught up in so many details of whatever, of technique and skill and form, but they really emphasized that this African American culture didn't really have any of that. Like it truly was this experience of trial and error and like vocalizations. It was this oral way of learning that, you know, they said, how can we use this on this instrument that we have no training on? And you know, the blues came from them bending the notes of trying to mimic like somebody singing, right? And once you share that publicly as a response to some of these tragic life events, it became recognizable. And
this is reminding me of the discussion we just had about First Nations. Like because he is focused on African American culture, and it sounded to me as though in trying to reclaim their identity, you know, they've just been ripped from their sort of physical or geographical context, and this is he's identifying a system of making music that is specific to that culture.
mm-hmm.
And then we kind of study it and, you know, and Chinese people and white people,
Which has, I think,
do.
like
That's
a purpose,
It's that.
but in the purpose of what, when it comes to human rights,
Yeah, yeah.
like this is where their music is stemmed from, right?
That's the
Like it's
strength
this
of it.
cry for help and a cry for change,
Yeah.
but now it's out of context,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
So he's really saying, find music that you can
improvisation.
You
Good,
did,
good.
yeah.
I always want to say improvisation or something. I don't know. But
I like it.
Yeah. So we did Murray Schaefer's Spirit Garden, and if anyone knows Schaefer's works, it's like he's written out kind of what he wants, but like it's mostly like soundscape kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of like improv that way, but I actually found it more enriching to kind of have like a model that we had to follow, because for me, improvisation, there we go, is super intimidating. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, in this context, when it's like lights are off, I'm just like, yeah, whatever, no one can tell it's me. Like, I don't care. But when the lights are on, that's a totally different story. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know. I find that having I don't know, is that even improvisation?
Well,
Like,
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, you read my mind. I literally have it written here because I forget everything. It's intimidating to speak up.
Yeah.
When it comes to social justice issues, or I shouldn't generalize. It can be intimidating for some people, not the soloist in your improv group. And it can be just as intimidating to practice improv, right?
That's true.
And so if we make that little connection,
Good,
yeah.
very
So
good.
I think, like I didn't, after reading both books, improvisation, I think, like there's an expectation as a musician, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've had, most of us, some of us, I have no idea, have some sort of training, so we know what should
That's
sound
your
correct
microphone.
and what sounds correct, and we have a lot to base things on. But I kept linking back to, okay, when I did music therapy, I had no, because they didn't, it just wasn't an issue, right? They didn't have training. So I think it's for us to, I don't want to say lower our expectations, but not think so much. And that's what both books suggest. In order for something to happen, we have to remove ourselves and our expectations. Because if I'm saying, okay, I'm going to create an ostinato in D major, now I'm thinking, okay,
Oh my gosh.
there's a lot. Then I have to, right? But if you just kind of approach it, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what it is like with a non-musician group, and then do something with a musician group. Because I wonder if there wouldn't be as much pressure if you just present it to non-musicians. This is what we're going to do. Feel free to, I'm going to invite you to join in how you are able to, whereas if musicians, we're constantly now thinking, okay, is this going to be a performance? Is this recorded? How, like, what's the form?
But that's also important for us because we have inhibitions, right? It's important for us to know how to break, as community musicians, how to break down these exact inhibitions. Because it's classical musicians who are going to be coming to us, who can't improvise, and they're embarrassed as all heck, because they're well trained. 50 years I've been playing violin, I have no idea what to do, and I'm terrified. You know, so what do we do?
I think, sorry, the,
Alex is on it.
I need this hand system. When, I think that's the thing that helps me is the darkness, so like, I'm removed.
Like Lord of the Rings. The darkness.
I'm removed from the situation, right? I don't see that there are people around me. I am alone as far as I know.
Do you guys want to try it? Do you want to do the before and after? Like look at each other, and let's try to improvise something, and then let's shut the lights off and just see what the
snort. Someone snort. Lights on. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, experience-wise, like somehow that just all worked.
I had way more variety.
Yeah.
There was, I felt much.
Yeah. Who snorted? Who was that? Anyway.
So every Thursday,
Go.
I run a Zoom hackers group, and that's what we do. We sit in a circle, non-musicians. Some people have experience with music, most don't. And that's actually my warm-up exercise. And now I'm questioning, is that fair? Yes. Like, you know, it's just like, because it's pretty intimidating, but people are starting to come out of their shell and actually facilitating it themselves. And everyone plays a separate beat like that and tries to hold focus, which is cool.
So did that have like meaning? Like what we just did?
That's good. This is a good question.
It was way less intimidating, and it was just like, oh hello, that would be a great way to wake up.
So the meaning is emotional. The meaning is joy, right? The meaning comes through our connection together. It's really a joyful connection. Yeah, go ahead. You have to raise your hands just to interrupt.
Sorry, I could also hear better.
Yeah.
Like, I could hear others better than when we were singing. I could like hear rhythms. I could hear rhythms across the room more. Like I could hear like a little pattern here, a little pattern there, coming in a different different kind of communication. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
In my
Come with
opinion,
me.
the only way to facilitate a vocal improv was to not warm up the clients, but like as sessions progressed, we'd start wanting to vocally improvise because that's what we were taught, but then to come back and just bring it back to like using your hands on a drum or whatever, it's almost less personal than using your voice.
This is so personal.
Yeah, and then eventually, as like for one instance, my one client, one day he randomly just started. I don't even know what he was doing. We were talking and he just started singing, and so then we went off of that as a vocal improv. So to warm up by that, just
Wow. Yeah. That was good. That's since you're pounding just the mic.
but yeah. So that's my input.
So actually, with the one thing that I think it was Maria, you said it was more energized.
Oh, there you go.
I was
So this is Simon reporting live from the community music classroom. Sorry, but it was so much more energy. I think the first off, when the lights were on, everyone's kind of like, okay, awkward, don't make eye contact. But it was also, even before, it was almost like a drone. For a lot of the ones that we've done.
Audience that
Yeah, we get that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of fun in that.
that is totally fine.
Otherwise, we would have died.
Yeah.
Right?
You didn't want it?
This is just something that came to mind. In concert choir, we always improvised, and then we would always start the concert with an improvisation. But it was
we did
a lot, but it was based on something we had practiced as a group, right? So our first one sounded absolutely horrible, maybe, but as we worked on that same theme, what was that one?
Oh, all that stuff we did as performance, yeah.
Yeah, but
had
we
these
started
big
with this one
improvisations.
thing, and you'd give us these hand signals
Crazy
so we'd know what
signs.
to do, and quite often we'd do similar things, yet it was still an improv, but that's how we became more comfortable because we
Yeah.
worked up to it, practicing it to make it a perfect improv because it was never
Isn't that funny?
necessarily Yeah.
But when you perfect improv, okay, well, I'll give you my experience. It's when I have a great relationship with everyone I'm improvising with, then it's really rewarding, right? That's the perfection of the improvisation is the relationships, not the sound. But often you get the recording, you're like, wow, that sounds great. So it's a weird experience. He talks about in free play it being sacred play, lila, Lila, divine play. So he adds the spiritual element. I don't think Ajay and Dan do that. Yeah, it's
No.
much more clinical, but they're brainy people, really brainy. Yeah. Do you experience anything akin to sacred play, divine play when you're doing this stuff?
Yeah.
Like if I play for myself,
Okay.
yeah, like I would say that if my sole point is to just kind of improvise for myself, then I can maybe get to like a sacred meditative level.
Try one more time again.
It's left. It's gone on its own, and it's okay.
Do you mean like when you, like a sacred place? Like, are you referring to like flow, like that kind of?
I don't know. Actually, I left it really vague and I didn't define sacred, even though that's what I do in my other class, my sacred music class. I'm just seeing how we experience
Well,
it.
because for me as a non-religious person, like sacred to me, I equate, I guess, with people experiencing peace,
Okay.
or just
The flow state.
like flow,
Yeah.
like I will not pronounce that guy's name. Like, do you know who I'm talking?
Mhm.
Makes it say it. Nailed it. Wow.
Say it for all of us.
But it's like 26 letters. Like.
I didn't hear that.
It-
Can you, Jennifer?
Okay, so I guess I haven't experienced that in improvisation, but I remember like in my high school chamber choir, we used to feel that all the time. We'd be so like into everybody. We all had the same goal.
connection.
Yeah, like
It's like
it
birds
was.
flying together, right?
Yes, it really was, and it was like you didn't know where you were, but you knew you were there with those people.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
beautiful,
really
isn't
beautiful, and I honestly haven't had an experience like that since high school. I
You
know.
think you're gonna go to university, this great music school, and
I
have
know.
flow all the time, and think I'm just stressed out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's unfortunate.
Wow.
But I know I had it there, and I know other people did too, because we'd be like, oh my god, did you feel that? Whoa! Like crazy high school
Something
kids.
fun about watching you referenced watching like kids play and how engaged they got to the point where it could be like a box they're so excited about and they're just in their own world. He comes back to them so many times of
Come across it.
I don't know why it keeps disconnecting. It keeps disconnecting, and I don't.
Program like that you can link it to a computer,
I've got it linked.
like to your computer.
Yeah.
Is there a setting within that you could fiddle around with it?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
For the
Plenty.
timeout?
Yeah, but I don't have time to fiddle. Like I spent hours with it today. I'll just. Okay. And there's separate apps on things. And there's,
all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's nice if we can see it on YouTube afterwards, right? There's also, the company that makes this has its own cloud, where you can see the presentation notes and the presenter at the same time. So next time we'll use that.
Okay.
It's like, come with me.
Come with me. I feel like it's another week, another time for Lindsay to cram a presentation in. So I just want to say, because I have so much to say, I talk a lot, as you know. So I reviewed Confronting Silence, which is over there, but that's okay.
Love is here too.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. And I'll let the video do the talking, but I was talking about this at break. I do encourage you to also read the blog post I wrote too, because it touches on a little bit more. But I tasked myself to only pick a few things that were in relation to community music, and I chose nature as being one of them. So bear with me, because I was kind of selfish of me, because I wanted to see if I could make a connection, and you can tell me if I did or not. And yeah, so I think I'll just press play. Should I have a light back there? Yeah.
It's so cool that it's following you around.
Yes.
Really fun light on. Oh, back there.
This is Deschaney Falls in North Bay. Said to take this, what I consider to be often what here we go. So through the author's descriptions and examples, it becomes quite evident, to at least me as the reader, that nature is something that's very important to him. He talks particularly the importance of harmonizing with nature and not seeing nature and humans as being, separate elements, but our ability to harmonize with each other. That's my interpretation. He was careful to say that harmony is not, as what he describes, ready-made rules, though, and we tell through music and even reflected in the instruments that they play. Let's just talk about. So what I said there, and what my laptop decided to cut off, or my iPad decided to cut off, is I'm now connecting nature with music, and I'm talking about the Aboriginal drum. As going to the Student Aboriginal Centre a couple weeks ago at Laurier, everything from the drum, which came from nature, natural elements, to storytelling and how and telling of their history, and how so much of it did connect to nature. And that's just true of many different cultures as well. To know and understand that we have this, well, we could say that there is this Western sort of thought that we think a certain way, but we need to broaden our perspectives, that other people have other things to contribute, and nature in this case is one thing, so connectedness to nature. The author of this book starts off in his first writing talking about, he uses a lot of nature in his descriptions as well.
I love it.
And the biwa, he describes it as being spread through the orchestra, gradually enlarging like waves of water, on page 87. And the gagaku, which is old Japanese court music, he describes on page 66. freedom to breathe. I thought that he says that on page 4, and I thought perfectionism and our classical training and what's expected of us, and then kind of the difference with community music where we want to invite everyone, the hospitality idea, to come and join us and be welcoming. Again, to quote the author, he says, "I wish to free sounds from the trite rules of music." There are a lot of rules. Quote him. Western music has been carefully classified within a narrow system of sounds, and its presentation has been systematically notated. Okay, Rests so within a score tend to be placed with mathematical compromises. Yeah. On page 7, relationships, because we've talked about relationships a lot in this class too as it relates to community music. So again, I'll quote him on page 91. He says, "I do not compose for simple personal gain, but to be reassured of my own being and to explore my relationship to others." He discusses how music from around the world influences one another. Cultures have been borrowing from each other for a long time, he says on page 92. This relates back to even the book review I did a couple weeks ago on cosmopolitanism, where we acknowledge that so much of what we know doesn't just come from what we learn in our one specific place, but from all over the world. And we've talked sort of about cultural patrimony and that sort of thing too, and this importance of sharing and learning from each other. So I think that relates back to community music. He also talks about ego. He says that he likes to collaborate, and he talks about ego. Higgins also talks about ego when he suggests that community facilitators need to put ego aside to allow for a welcoming environment. I interpret that as eliminating the us and the them. Know why we're really there to facilitate community music. I do this with the Wii remote and I always drop it. Okay, so pages of information that I took from the text in terms of his relationship. And if you read it, I think, and I actually do encourage people to read it, it's a pretty, it's not a difficult read in the sense, it's large print. It, it's comprehensive, it's thoughtful, but I felt as though I learned so much. And I know this video says 7 minutes, and the choppy cuts are really because it was like 15 minutes or something like that, 10, 15. It was hard to just cram all these ideas and everything he's trying to express, because it's really my interpretation is these are feelings. This is how he truly feels about these instruments. So on the blog, I talk more. I give a few more examples to hopefully give you a clear idea of what he's trying to talk about. Gerard, we were talking about at the break, transporting music. There's a whole section in here that I really wanted to talk about his travels to Australia, a remote place in Australia, and the didgeridoo, and transporting that music, and how a traditional Japanese instrument in November, I think it was November, we'll say November in Japan versus bringing it to New York City at that time of year, even just the atmosphere environmentally can potentially damage an instrument. So it talks about transporting that. But I think what I really took from it is I could pick up any instrument. Any of us could pick up any instrument, and it kind of goes back to what we're talking about understanding other cultures. We can ask questions and attempt to understand and learn the lessons, but unless I truly have that lived experience or have really been taught all the dimensions of learning an instrument, like the breathing, like the connectedness, not just technique, am I really playing it authentically? Thank you and good night.
you see a white man playing a and you're like, that sounds weird, that seems weird, like that's, you're not Japanese. But
Does he talk about? Oh, sorry. No, I'm just sorry. I will wait.
I feel like I'm just like the model of politeness, like
No, no, it's good.
yeah, it's just like, yeah, it was. I don't even know where I was going with it
Because it's my
but
fault.
no, totally okay.
Okay.
Say what you were gonna say.
I was just curious. Does he talk about when he's learning that instrument? Does he talk about not just learning about the technicalities, but the connecting more
Yeah.
deeply with it? Yeah.
For sure, and he actually like that's all it's about.
Okay.
For him is not just like learning the techniques and the like quarter tones and all that stuff, but it's like learning the history and actually being one with the instrument and actually speaking through the instrument.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. Cool.
that's the most powerful for him, and so and that's what the instrument was for, right? So yeah, it was kind of.
And in interrupting Alex, I interrupted you.
No,
because you were-
it's all good. It's all good.
No, Kristen, you do have stuff to say about this.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to talk about a little bit of the idea of. I kind of lost my train of thought. So, some of the things that they were saying were the ideas that. Okay, wait. How do I backtrack? Like commodification of culture and the idea of so, what they talked a lot about in the book was the idea that they began to question. And they began to say, okay, we're putting forward only what can sell, but unfortunately that's what's being understood as our actual authentic culture, but it's not really what we are. So we have two different sides to it. What we sell and what we really are. And so like one of the things that made me think of that was like, I've been to Mexico, but I haven't been to Mexico. I've been to a resort.
Well, Gary's a buddy, right? Yeah. He's my buddy. So, yeah.
And he explains himself so well.
Gary's awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna send you. Well, because Gary and I did a concert in May. It was my solo concert, but I insisted on doing it with other musicians. And so the guy who wrote Dan's book, Silence, in Gary's place. So Gary played with me, Dan played with me, Ajay played with me. Yeah, all these people wrote in and said, "We want to play with you." And so, yeah, I've got live streams, and yeah, so I can send it. And we even had a dance. Yeah, and so it's on YouTube. Like both. Yeah, links. I can send them. You know what? I'll just blog about it and send you the links. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, that's great.